don't know about you, but the Labor Day holiday, it just kind of makes it feel like it's the end of summer and the end of the gardening season. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and in today's video we are going to take a walk through the gardens here at Walter's Gardens, and we're going to find so many fall blooming perennials that if you're feeling like your garden is a little bit lackluster right now with color, I'm going to show you a lot of great suggestions where you can keep your garden feeling just as lively as it did earlier this summer going into the fall. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the gardens. In this garden we're looking at right now, you're seeing a lot of the beautiful Rudbeckia. This is the Rudbeckia Goldstrum. Rudbeckia Goldstrum is a late summer bloomer, and the beautiful golden daisy flowers give you color well into the fall. Look at that beautiful mass planting. Just really is making a very vibrant splash of color in this garden. Also, there's a lot of Geranium Roseanne. Geranium Roseanne is a long blooming perennial that blooms early season into the fall. Geranium Roseanne, with a slight trim throughout the summer, continues to bloom well into the fall. Now, it's not only the flowers that have nice fall interest, it's foliage as well. And here we have the Amsonia string theory. Amsonia string theory is a spring blooming perennial, usually here in Michigan. We're a zone 6A. This would be blooming sometime in May with its beautiful periwinkle blooms. But as we go into the fall and as things start to get a little cooler at night, string theory really kicks it up a notch with its gorgeous foliage. So as it continues to get cooler and cooler, this foliage is going to take on a beautiful bronzy orange coloration. So something we'll continue to watch as we continue to enter into fall here. But look at that great texture and great foliage for a fall garden. There's something just so special about tall phlox, and the variety in front of us now is the Phlox Dream Girl, which is part of the Garden Girl series. Dream Girl phlox is about 3.5 foot tall and features these beautiful bright magenta pink blooms. This is a great plant for the pollinators as well. There's just something I think so dreamy kind of about the tall phlox in the garden. Definitely something that is a August bloomer, but this Garden Girl series reblooms, so you not only get your first flush of flowers, you get a beautiful second rebloom as well. That is a very vibrant splash of color for the late season garden, and nice too because it is tall, so if your garden feels a little flat, this will give you a lot of height in the garden as well. Oh, look at here, a beautiful fall blooming clematis. This is Clematis terniflora, also known as Sweet Autumn, and this is late summer color at its finest. So if you're looking to add some vertical interest into the garden, if you have a tall trellis or a obelisk or something that this plant can climb, it can get 10 to 20 foot tall. So definitely a great plant for adding much and big height to the garden. Here they actually have it growing on a fence that's going more horizontally, so it's not getting super tall. It's only getting as tall as this fence, but it's spreading sideways. The thing I like about the Sweet Autumn too is it's got a beautiful fragrance to it. So if you're looking for the clematis variety that is a late bloomer, the Sweet Autumn is definitely a great one to have in the garden. Tolerant and deer resistant is Russian Sage, and here we have the Russian Sage Denim and Lace. Denim and Lace is a later season bloomer, and I love the periwinkle flower spikes. If you have an area in your garden that tends to be a little bit more on the drier side, the Russian Sage are just the perfect plant for that. And I like how they're using it here as kind of a backdrop in this garden. It's kind of the back of the border, and this is just really a fabulous use of a back of the border plant. You can see there's a lot of stuff in front of it that were earlier season bloomers and have kind of faded at this point in the season, but bringing your eye up and past kind of those spent blooms to the back to see the beautiful Denim and Lace Russian Sage. Anemone definitely comes to mind when I think about fall garden color. Here we've got a beautiful white anemone. This is Honoré Jobert, and this anemone is about 4 foot tall. So definitely something that is going to add some serious height to the garden. Beautiful, crisp white blooms. Definitely a plant that just screams fall, very iconic of fall. Anemone do tend to get fairly decent in size, like you're seeing here in this garden. So when you're planting an anemone, make sure that you're giving them plenty of space so that they can do their thing. Here's a few more examples of great fall bloomers. We have the Heliopsis here. This is the Tuscan Sun. And Tuscan Sun is a long blooming perennial that blooms nearly all summer long. And as you can see, the flowers continue into the fall with a beautiful yellow daisy looking blooms. Another anemone that is shorter than the one we just saw is the Fall in Love Sweetly anemone. And this one here features the beautiful hot pink blooms, a much shorter habit. This one's only about 24 to maybe 30 inches tall at the highest point, but really a ton of flowers that start opening up late in the season and will give you that fall color. It's really nice to add this pink into the color palette for fall. I mean, I think a lot of times you think of fall colors being oranges, reds, and oranges, but it's so pretty to have an option of a pink bloomer for the fall as well. One of my favorite long blooming perennials are the Alstroemeria, or Peruvian lily. And here we have a new variety called Summer Break. This will be introduced in 2025. Not only is it long blooming, but look at the amount of color it gives here in this late season garden. This plant here is about 36 inches tall or so, and just look at all those beautiful pink and white blooms. Alstroemeria are also great for cutting gardens. So if you like to have cut flowers in your garden, this here is a great plant because it just continues to put on more flowers all summer long and takes you well into fall with the beautiful blooms. Crepe myrtle is also a nice end of summer flowering shrub or perennial. Kind of depends on who you talk to. For us here in Michigan, crepe myrtle act more like a perennial, meaning for us they die back to the ground in the winter, and then when they emerge in the spring. For those of you in the south, they probably act more like a shrub where they don't die back to the ground and your new growth comes off of the old stems. So here you can see this beautiful crepe myrtle has a ton of buds just waiting to open up and bloom. And you can see here these beautiful magenta blooms are going on right now. So you can see not only is it blooming, but it's got a lot of life yet going into the later fall with those buds that are remaining. Butterfly bush are also a great fall favorite. I mean, they bloom all summer essentially once things start warming up. And then to take you into the fall with a beautiful coloration as seen here. And the butterflies, the pollinators, they love these plants. The thing I like about butterfly bush as well is they're fragrant. So as you walk past them in the garden, they smell so lovely and are such a fun addition. Now these are part of the Little Buddy series, and you can see they are just little buddies. They're super short. They're only about 24 inches tall or so, and they're just really loaded with a ton of flowers. The thing I like about this particular one is look at all the variation of color you've got going on. You've got the darker blooms and then the lighter blooms. So that adds a lot of little depth and interest going on for this particular one. And you can just see all of the spent blooms, the fresh blooms, and the blooms that are in their current bloom cycle. This plant was absolutely loaded, which tells you too, lots of season color that's just going to continue to go on and on. More beautiful Alstroemeria to showcase in this video. This is the Alstroemeria Golden Tiara. Loving the kind of yellow and orange look here. Again, these are about 3 foot tall, which seems to be kind of the theme with the Alstroemeria that are in the garden right now. Just a bright splash of sunshine for the late summer garden. Great cut flower as mentioned before, and just a plant that continues to send up blooms all summer long, just giving you so much color. This plant it gives you such a bang for your buck. In Michigan here, this will go until our first hard frost, which could be even in November. So definitely very, very long blooming. This here is actually a moon garden, and look at all the color late in the season that this moon garden is providing. Some of the things we're seeing in this space are hardy hibiscus, white butterfly bush, artemisia. There's a black of the black lace sambucus, some white of crepe myrtle, And again, a lot of these things you're seeing are going to continue to flower well into the fall. And the nice thing with this particular garden space, with the use of so many white plants, is that this space not only during the day looks so beautiful, but in the evening it just glows. White in the garden or silver in the garden is such a needed design element, in my opinion, because how it just transitions your garden from daytime beauty to nighttime beauty. I'm loving what they did here in this garden space. So they took some of those lower growing butterfly bush and are using them as front of the border, and just behind them they have some asters planted. I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I plant asters in my garden, they tend to kind of crack open and flop. But what's happening here in this garden space is these butterfly bush are holding up these asters so that they stay nice and upright without flopping. That's a great use of one plant supporting another. With so many great fall blooming perennials, I'm hoping this video gave you some inspiration today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if there is a fall blooming favorite that you have, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.